Welcome to Timeball Games. I'm ELD, here to ask you for help in growing the channel. When we reach 2,500 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a custom leather playmat to one lucky subscriber. So be sure to like and subscribe. Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here we have Matt on Stoneblade with a Flooded Strand, passing the turn to Matt playing a Humility build, some type of Azorius Prison, and 3 mana into, it looks like Lingering Souls. It is. It's a Lingering Souls. All right. A couple of 1/1s here for Humility. Looking to keep things fair across the board. Make all the creatures 1/1s with no abilities. Of course, an interesting interaction available to Humility is running cards like Mishra's Factory. Those will actually become 2/2s with no abilities when activated. Chalice of the Void. And I believe Matt is actually playing a Stoneblade build that I had built either specifically for him or another player in the store who wanted to get into Legacy. Very often we'll let people play decks, get a feel for the format. Hopefully he'll be back once all of this craziness is over. We've got a Force of Will trying to stop this Chalice. And now Ponder. Humility, one of those cards that judges are never happy to hear. Very complicated interactions with layers and time stamping, and honestly, some of it just comes down to they have to decide how it's going to play out. Some of it is not intuitive at all, but that's how the layer system works. It does work. You always come to the same conclusion, but it is not intuitive. You would not be able to read the cards and guess what would actually happen with 100% accuracy. I mean, there's some really weird interactions, like the Mishra's Factory or even Fairy Conclave, a blue land, which is sometimes seen play alongside Humility. Ends up being a 2/1 with no flying. It is still blue, however. Snapcaster Mage, flashing back a Ponder. Land comes right off the top of the deck onto the battlefield, and Matt's passing the turn. Stoneblade does have a nice little interaction with Humility when it comes to the equipment in the deck. Stoneblade can actually make great use of 1/1 creatures, and in fact Stoneblade at one point in time ran Lingering Souls, so it had extra bodies for cards like Sword of Fire and Ice and Umezawa's Jite to attach to. Of course, if it gets to the point where you can attach a Batterskull to one of those 1/1s, that is going to tower over everything on the board in a world where Humility is making everything 1/1s. We see Matt's actually got the Thopter Foundry combo. He's got the sword and Sword of the Meek and the Foundry, and trying to figure out what to give to Matt. He gives him the sword. And we'll see how Matt gets that Thopter Foundry out of the graveyard. Sword of the Meek. And another Lingering Souls. Savine's Reclamation would be interesting. That wasn't printed at this time, I don't think. This is from late last year. We're able to go back into the vault and find some footage for you guys during this Corona shutdown. I believe this is from November. a Stoneforge. And there's the Batterskull. Yeah, if this is allowed to come down, it could certainly pull Matt back into this game. Stoneforge Mystic gives a tremendous amount of inevitability. Really grind out games. Even if you kill the Germ, they can always pay 3, return it to the hand, pay 2 more, put it back out. And of course, if they get to 5 mana, you can just start slapping Batterskull onto whatever creatures happen to be on the battlefield on your side. Ooh, Karn. That's really something. Karn, a very dangerous card here. He grabs the Foundry. And pretty soon, for each 1 mana that Matt has, he's going to be able to get a point of life and a 1/1 flyer. Is also going to be able to sacrifice. Pretty sure you can just sacrifice the tokens after blocks. You read Thopter Foundry, make sure it's not non-token. Oh, it is non-token. All right, that makes sense. So yeah, you can't be quite as bad. So Batterskull can gain some life, but I mean, you're going to be able to gain even more life. It's not super relevant. So right now, turning Batterskull into a creature, that makes the equipment fall off of the Germ. The Germ dies as a state-based effect. Matt actually going to respond to that by Swords to Plowshares instead. So he's going to gain some life. But Karn, what a wrecking ball he is to this strategy. This Batterskull just going to be completely shut down. Sword of the Meek going to be coming in and out of the graveyard for each 1 mana. And I believe Stoneblade, Matt on Stoneblade is actually learning about this combo in real time. Somebody that probably took a little bit of a look at Legacy before hopping into his first Legacy tournament probably didn't expect Thopter Foundry. That is not a huge percentage of the meta, but that is the beautiful thing about Legacy is you can play so many different cards throughout the history of the game and find success with them. I mean, really, sometimes just for the fun of it. Just the ability to actually go out there, sleeve up something wild. And, you know, when you taking down a tournament's a lot of fun, but taking down a tournament with something completely off the wall is a little bit of one-upsmanship. And just like that, we've got Matt scooping up to that Stoneblade, to that Karn lock. All right, we skipped the shuffling and sideboarding. I believe we're going to be ready to go. Game number 2, Matt on Stoneblade will have the play. Leads out with an Arid Mesa. Grabbing a Tundra. Very often you want to grab basic lands with these blue-white builds, particularly Miracles. We'll see how this hand ends up looking. And a Ponder. We'll see also if Matt has the ability to punish non-basics. In blue and white, we may see back to basics out of this. I don't know. He did have some non-basics of his own. Humility. quite a interesting answer to show and tell decks of this time. Eureka Tell, I believe, was just kind of getting kicked off when this deck was being played. Humility, a very good answer to Sneak and Show. Not so much Humility. I'm sorry, not so much Omniscience. Humility really doesn't interact with Omniscience in the least. And, when you put in a Humility off of their show and tell, feels pretty good, but not when they just kill you immediately after because they can Cunning Wish for Release the Ants. Here we go, 3 mana now. The Force of Will on that Chalice of the Void may have stopped most of what Matt had going on, and he is perhaps cycling. This card may have basic land cycling. I'm going to try and figure this out. I have no idea what that card is. This is the second video I've seen with Matt playing it, and I'm still no closer to knowing. Nope, still not seeing it. Matt really hindered here on his mana development. Force of Will's doing some work. Snapcaster looking to establish a clock. Is it Migratory Route? You madman. No, I don't think that can be it. We'll see. It might be Migratory Route. That would be crazy. That is a card that basic land cycles for 2, and it creates 4 1/1 bird creatures with flying. True Name Nemesis added to Matt's board presence here. Chipping away, but Humility, one of the few cards that can actually answer a card like True Name Nemesis, removing pretty much all of what makes it good. Lingering Souls gets a couple of bodies on board. Matt learning Spell Snare does not actually have the ability to hit that. The flashback cost is 2. However, the converted mana cost is always what's printed in the upper right-hand corner, regardless of how you're playing the spell. Swords of Plowshares clears one of those tokens, and now a Snapcaster clears the other, pushing through that extra 2 damage with the Snapcaster Mage. Has 7 damage on board. City of Traders into Humility. Matt still has to deal with this 3-turn clock. Snapcaster times 2 plus True Name Nemesis. They've been downgraded. Stoneforge Mystic, no search is going to happen. 3 damage coming in. I actually don't love that play. It looks like he might have a Brainstorm in hand. And I got to wonder if Stoneforge could be converted into a better card. Mox Diamond. Discarding Ancient Tomb. And now Chalice at 1. And this kind of feels like Matt's getting ready to move on to the next game. Karn coming down. Grabbing a Batter Skull. I may have spoke too soon here. Clearing Karn, not really going to be enough. So down to 5. Now it's 2 swings. Boy, this is really tough. Batter Skull joins the fray. A Brainstorm. Sees a Spell Pierce. That alone not going to be enough. Oh, this is actually on Matt's turn. I thought that was in response to the Batter Skull. He really needed just the Swords to Plowshares, and now this is going to swing right back in the other direction. Matt got so close. Stoneblade nearly closing it out, and it looks like Humility plus Batter Skull is just going to reign supreme over this board of 1/1s. Going to transmute Teleria West. Grabbing a Chalice of the Void. Removing Swords to Plowshares as an out with this Chalice at 1. And now a Batter Skull of his own. Well then. What an interesting situation we have here. Thopter Foundry, Intuition to get some swords. We had a stalemate, but Matt going to be able to bust that stalemate wide open as long as he plays a couple. Actually, it doesn't even matter if he only has 1 sword. He'll be able to play it and then sack it. This is all fine here for Matt. Humility. This Azorius Prison deck. Trading in Batter Skulls, but it's going to end up being a wrap. The writing is on the wall. It's very difficult to imagine what Matt can have to get him out of this. Stoneblade in a terrible spot as 1/1s are going to start flooding in on Humility's side of the board. Plays a Teleria West just to get extra mana, as he's going to have good use for every single mana he has. It's going to be able to make a 1/1, gain him a life, and move him that much closer to winning. Blocking this Batter Skull. May drag the game out, but left to continue on this path, Humility will eventually overwhelm Stoneblade here. Karn being cast. Chalice of the Void. Trigger not missed. He had the 2 mana anyways. And it looks like Karn's actually going to make Batter Skull into a creature. I'm not sure what happened to the Stoneforge. It may have taken... it took damage earlier, and now it's got 1 damage and dies as state-based effects. And now so many bodies rallying to Matt's cause. Just 7 mana a turn. Will we see a Mycosynth Lattice? Just completely lock this thing out. There it is. And I got to imagine Stoneblade going to be scooping it up after this. No more spells for you. All the cards in your hand and in all zones are colorless. And that will also exclude cards from Force of Vigor or Force of Will from having any impact on the game. That is pretty much game over. The Humility Pilot here explaining the interaction as Matt learns about this devastating lock for the first time ever on camera and is forced to scoop it up. He takes a look to see if there was going to be any possible way out, but there was, in fact, no way of getting out of that. That is a complete lock, and Humility taking this one down. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.